the whisper that starts it all. Trouble. Always trouble. She hasn't even sat down, and already, the whispers start. But no one here realizes, this so-called troublemaker is about to make history. And before this flight touches the ground, every person on board will know her name. The camera opens on a gleaming luxury jet interior, sunlight spilling through oval windows, reflecting off cream leather seats with gold-accented armrests. The hum of boarding chatter fills the air, quiet conversations, clinking glasses, the occasional shuffle of designer luggage wheels along the aisle. Near the galley, two flight attendants speak in low voices, just out of earshot of most passengers. The younger one, Grace, looks uneasy as she leans closer to Lauren Reed, the senior flight attendant. Lauren, with her tight blonde bun, sharp makeup, and perfectly tailored navy and gold uniform with a red silk scarf, glances toward the entrance as a shadow falls across the aisle. Lauren, low, but with disdain. Here we go. Keep an eye on her. She's already trouble, I can feel it. Grace shifts nervously, following Lauren's gaze. The camera pans to the boarding stairs, where we catch only glimpses of the new passenger, a slim leather case in one hand, sleek navy trousers swaying with each measured step, and the faint reflection of her silhouette in the polished doorframe. We don't see her face yet. Nearby passengers lean subtly toward the aisle, sensing Lauren's tone, their murmurs faint. Nosy socialite, whispering to her companion. Who's she talking about? Some VIP, maybe? Businessman, muttering under his breath. Doesn't sound like they're rolling out the red carpet for whoever it is. The ambient sound fades slightly, replaced by a rising, tense underscore as the figure finally steps into view. Amara Carter, a black woman in her late 30s, enters the cabin with a calm, unhurried gait. She wears a tailored navy pantsuit with a cream blouse, sleek shoulder-length waves framing her composed face. A subtle gold watch glints on her wrist, no excess jewelry, no flash, just understated confidence. As she moves toward row 4, Lauren's eyes track her every step, the faint curl of a smirk forming as she murmurs to Grace. Lauren, under her breath. Mark my words. This one's going to test me. Grace says nothing, her eyes flickering between Lauren and Amara, clearly uncomfortable. The camera tracks Amara's movement down the aisle, lingering on subtle passenger reactions, curious glances, faint whispers, the nosy socialite narrowing her eyes with a faint smirk as she sips champagne. The businessman across the cabin watches quietly, his brow creasing at the tension in the air. Amara reaches her seat, sets her leather case down neatly, and glances briefly toward Lauren. Her expression is calm, unreadable, but there's the faintest flicker of awareness in her eyes, as if she already senses what's coming. Lauren straightens, her professional smile plastered on, but her tone is just cool enough to make her stance clear. Lauren, flatly. Welcome aboard, ma'am. Amara nods once, settling into her seat by the window, her fingers resting lightly on her planner. The camera pans out slowly, the hum of passengers softening as the underscore swells, a tension creeping in. The whispers continue in hushed tones behind her. Nosy socialite, to her companion. Trouble. You can just tell. The screen fades to black for a beat, leaving only the sound of the cabin's faint hum and a low, ominous swell of music before cutting to the next scene. Every pair of eyes on the plane shifts to her. Some stare with curiosity. Others with judgment. But the crew? They've already decided who she is, before she's even spoken a word. And with one sentence. Lauren makes sure the whole cabin knows it. The luxury jet cabin gleams under bright daylight, sunlight spilling through oval windows and catching the subtle gold accents on the armrests and drink trays. The quiet murmur of passengers settling fades as the camera pans along the aisle. Amara Carter, poised in her tailored navy pantsuit, cream blouse, sleek shoulder-length waves perfectly framing her composed face, slides her slim leather case under her seat. Her posture is relaxed yet confident as she buckles in, her gaze sweeping briefly across the cabin, acknowledging no one in particular. Lauren Reed, the senior flight attendant, stands at the far end of the aisle. Her tight blonde bun, crisp navy and gold uniform, and red silk scarf are immaculate, but her eyes remain fixed on Amara like a hawk. She doesn't approach immediately. Instead, she leans slightly toward another crew member, her voice low but intentionally audible to the nearby passengers. "Lauren, cool, condescending. Keep an eye on her. Last time I had one of these up here, it turned into a circus." Her words cut through the quiet cabin like a blade. A middle-aged businessman in a gray tailored suit sitting across the aisle glances up sharply, his brow furrowed, while the nosy socialite with pearl earrings and styled curls leans forward with a smirk, whispering to her companion. Nosy socialite, whispering. She must have sweet-talked her way into this section. Definitely doesn't look like the usual first-class crowd. The businessman shifts slightly in his seat, watching Lauren with a faint frown, though he stays silent. Grace, the junior flight attendant, stiffens beside Lauren, clearly uncomfortable, but says nothing as Lauren straightens and adjusts her scarf with an air of forced calm. Lauren finally steps forward, her professional smile thin and brittle as she pauses beside Amara's row. She gestures vaguely toward the luggage bin as if performing a routine check but lets her words slip just loud enough for the nearby passengers to hear. Lauren, sugary tone, laced with edge. "Make sure you keep your things tidy, ma'am. We like to keep this cabin as refined as possible." Her gaze lingers on Amara, her smile frozen in place. A couple of passengers exchange looks, the tension building with each deliberate pause. Amara tilts her head slightly toward Lauren, her voice calm, even. "Amara. Refined isn't a problem, so long as it goes both ways." Lauren's smile falters for the briefest second before she recovers, stepping back with a soft, dismissive laugh as she turns toward Grace. Lauren, quietly, but audible enough. "Like I said, trouble." The camera lingers on Amara's composed face, her fingers now lightly tapping the edge of her planner, before panning to the whispering passengers and Lauren's stiff posture as the faint hum of the engines begins to rise. The underscore swells softly, carrying a note of unease as the scene fades to black, the tension building for what's coming next. She's not talking. She's not moving. She's just sitting there. But somehow, her calm is making everyone else restless. The whispers get louder. The glances get sharper. And Lauren? She's circling, like she's waiting for her first excuse. The camera glides slowly down the aisle, capturing the pristine luxury of the premium cabin, cream leather seats with gold armrests, polished drink trays, and sunlight streaming through the oval windows, filling the space with a soft, bright glow. The faint hum of the engines underscores the scene. Amara Carter sits quietly in row 4 by the window, her posture straight, her tailored navy blazer and cream blouse unwrinkled, her sleek shoulder-length waves framing a composed, unreadable expression. Her leather planner rests closed on her lap, and her eyes move casually to the view outside, as though the whispers around her aren't worth her attention. Across the aisle, the nosy socialite leans subtly forward, pearl necklace catching the light as she mutters to her companion in a low but pointed whisper. Nosy socialite, whispering. She doesn't belong here. I bet she didn't even pay for that seat. Her companion shrugs, glancing over with a faint smirk, while the middle-aged businessman in a gray suit sitting 2 rows back frowns slightly, his gaze shifting between the passengers and Lauren, who stands near the galley. Lauren, her tight blonde bun and sharp makeup immaculate, slowly walks down the aisle with a clipboard in hand, pretending to check the manifest. But her eyes don't leave Amara for long, glancing up every few seconds as if she's looking for something to call out. She pauses by the Raymonds, the silver-haired couple sitting 2 rows ahead. Her demeanor shifts instantly, her voice warm and gracious. Lauren, pleasantly. Mr. and Mrs. Raymond, always a pleasure. Can I get you anything before we take off? Mrs. Raymond shakes her head politely, already pulling a ball of yarn from her bag, while Mr. Raymond offers a polite smile, newspaper in hand. Lauren's tone hardens subtly as she turns, passing by Amara without so much as a glance. Her professional warmth vanishes, replaced by the faint tension in her jaw as she flips her clipboard shut and murmurs just loud enough for Grace and a few nearby passengers to hear. Lauren, low, with a smirk. And then there's her. Let's hope she doesn't make a scene. Grace's eyes flick nervously toward Amara, her lips parting as if to say something, but she stops herself. Amara doesn't react, her expression stays calm, her fingers idly tracing the smooth edge of her planner. But the slight lift of her brows suggests she heard every word. The camera lingers on Amara's stillness as the soft murmurs swell in the background, whispers, faint chuckles, the faint squeak of a phone camera lens as someone discreetly records from 2 rows behind. The underscore grows more tense, a low hum building under the sound of the engines as the camera pans back to Lauren's stiff posture, her hand adjusting her scarf as she glances toward Amara again, still watching, still waiting. The scene fades to black on the sound of a muted passenger chime, the cabin's tension tightening as takeoff approaches. She hasn't said a word. She hasn't even asked for anything. But Lauren? She's already decided to make a point. And in this cabin, even something as small as a glass of water can draw every eye. The game begins, and Amara knows it. The luxury jet soars steadily, bright daylight pouring through the oval windows, casting soft reflections across the cream leather seats and gold-trimmed trays. A faint hum of engines underscores the scene as the passengers settle into a lull, some sipping champagne, others scrolling through their phones. Lauren Reed, her tight blonde bun and navy and gold uniform immaculate, glides smoothly down the aisle with a silver drink tray. Her demeanor is polished and sweet when she pauses at the Raymond's row. Lauren, warmly. Mr. and Mrs. Raymond, your usual? Sparkling for him, chamomile for you? Mrs. Raymond nods with a smile, already knitting quietly, while Mr. Raymond offers a polite thanks as he unfolds his newspaper. Lauren pours carefully, smiling warmly, placing the drinks on their gold-accented armrests. Then, without breaking stride, she moves on, serving 2 more passengers, the nosy socialite across the aisle and her companion, offering them champagne with a friendly grin. But as Lauren approaches row 4, where Amara Carter sits quietly by the window, her demeanor shifts. The tray dips slightly, but she doesn't make eye contact. She passes right by Amara without a word, heading to serve another passenger further down the aisle. The businessman across the aisle glances over, frowning slightly, his brow furrowed as he notices the deliberate omission. The nosy socialite smirks knowingly, leaning toward her companion as she whispers. Nosy socialite, smug. Told you. She's not supposed to be here. Watch, this won't end well for her. Amara remains completely still, her fingers gently tracing the edge of her leather planner. Her gaze follows Lauren briefly, but she doesn't speak until Lauren starts her return trip up the aisle with the now half-empty tray. Her voice, when it comes, is calm, even, and soft, but carries just enough weight to turn a few heads nearby. Amara. Excuse me. Could I have a glass of water, please? Lauren pauses, glancing down at Amara with a cool, dismissive look. Her voice is polite in tone but sharp at the edges. Lauren. You'll have to wait until I've finished with our priority passengers, ma'am. She moves on without another word, her heels clicking softly on the carpet. A few passengers glance between Amara and Lauren. The businessman's jaw tightens slightly, while Grace, standing near the galley, shifts uncomfortably, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Amara exhales quietly, not angry, just measured, her gaze drifting back to the window as sunlight floods across her blazer. Her fingers tap the closed planner once, slowly, as the camera lingers on her calm expression, the faintest flicker of something beneath the surface, a hint that she's noting every detail. The underscore swells softly, the hum of the engines growing more pronounced as the tension thickens. The scene fades to black on Amara's calm, unreadable face, the whispers in the background rising just slightly as Lauren moves down the aisle again. It starts as a whisper. A glance. A skipped drink. But now, Lauren wants the whole cabin to hear it. One loud sentence, and suddenly, everyone knows who the problem is supposed to be. Except the woman she's targeting isn't the one losing her composure. The luxury jet cruises smoothly, sunlight streaming through the oval windows, glinting off polished gold details on the seats and trays. The faint hum of the engines is broken by the soft chatter of passengers, conversations muffled, the quiet clink of glasses, until Lauren Reed decides to raise her voice. Lauren, her tight blonde bun still perfect and her navy and gold uniform pristine, stops near the galley where Grace, the junior attendant, is quietly arranging napkins. She leans slightly closer but projects her voice just enough to carry into the nearby rows, ensuring that passengers will overhear. Lauren, firm, exaggeratedly professional. Grace, keep an eye on row 4. Some passengers think they're entitled to special treatment. We're not having disruptions this early into the flight. The words cut through the comm like a sharp blade. Several passengers glance subtly toward row 4, where Amara Carter sits quietly by the window, her tailored navy blazer catching the sunlight, sleek shoulder-length waves unmoving as she keeps her gaze steady on the horizon outside. The nosy socialite smirks audibly, leaning toward her companion with a whisper just loud enough for a few others to catch. Nosy socialite, gossiping. Told you. Always a problem with these types. She'll be in the back before landing, you watch. The businessman across the aisle frowns more deeply, his eyes narrowing at Lauren before flicking to Amara. He leans forward slightly, but doesn't intervene yet, choosing to observe. Grace hesitates, her eyes darting between Lauren and Amara. Her lips part as if to speak, but Lauren cuts her off with a sharp glance, adjusting her red silk scarf and straightening as she turns back toward the aisle, a satisfied smirk barely concealed. Amara finally moves, just slightly. Her head turns from the window, her eyes meeting Lauren's as she passes back down the aisle. Her voice is low, smooth, and deliberate, the kind of tone that carries even when spoken softly. Amara. Funny. The only disruption I see is the one you're creating. A few passengers' heads turn, the tension climbing another notch. The nosy socialite's smirk falters. Grace's eyes widen slightly, a flicker of relief breaking through her nervousness. Lauren's jaw tightens, but she forces a professional smile, leaning just slightly closer to Amara as she walks by, her words coated with sugary venom. Lauren, quiet, but cutting. Watch yourself, ma'am. I don't tolerate trouble. Amara's gaze doesn't waver. She leans back in her seat, her fingers resting on the closed planner as the camera lingers on her calm, unblinking expression, while the whispers behind her begin to rise. The underscore deepens, the tension swelling as the scene fades to black on the faint hum of the engines, signaling that the first true clash is about to ignite. One glance. One assumption. Lauren's been waiting for a reason, and now she thinks she's found it. In this cabin, accusations echo louder than facts, especially when they're made in front of an audience. But the woman in row 4? She's not rattled. Not yet. The luxury jet's cabin glows with soft daylight, the hum of the engines blending with the muffled conversations of passengers. Cream leather seats and gold accents gleam in the sunlight, but the tension between row 4 and the aisle cuts through the polished serenity like a silent storm. Lauren Reed strides deliberately down the aisle, her tight blonde bun and perfectly pressed navy and gold uniform pristine, red silk scarf swaying slightly as she approaches. The clipboard in her hand taps lightly against her thigh, a calculated sound as she stops by Amara Carter's row. Amara sits still and poised, her tailored navy blazer catching the sunlight, her sleek shoulder-length waves softly brushing her collar as she looks up, expression calm but attentive. Lauren's smile is tight and forced, her voice carrying a false sweetness laced with sharp edges, loud enough for the surrounding passengers to hear clearly. Lauren, pointedly. Ma'am, I think there's been a mistake. This section is reserved for elite passengers only. I'll need to see your ticket, please. The nosy socialite perks up, her pearl earrings glinting as she leans forward, lips curling into a knowing smirk. Nosy socialite, murmuring to her companion. Knew it. She's not supposed to be here. The businessman across the aisle stiffens, his jaw tightening as he sets down his tablet, his eyes flicking between Lauren and Amara. Grace, standing near the galley, hesitates, her hands tightening around the folded passenger list she's holding. Amara doesn't flinch. She slowly opens her planner, retrieves the slim boarding pass tucked neatly inside, and extends it toward Lauren with steady hands. Her voice is calm, steady, almost soothing. Amara. You can double-check. But I assure you, this is my seat. Lauren takes the ticket with a clipped motion, glancing at it quickly before handing it back. She lets out a soft scoff, her lips curving into a faint smirk as she tucks the clipboard under her arm. Lauren, dryly, with condescension. Must have been an upgrade, somehow. A faint ripple of whispers stirs among the passengers. The nosy socialite smirks wider, while the businessman's brow furrows in quiet disapproval. Grace's lips part again as if to interject, but Lauren shoots her a quick, silencing glance. Amara slides the boarding pass back into her planner, her gaze steady on Lauren as she leans back slightly in her seat. Her voice, though soft, carries effortlessly in the tense cabin. Amara. Sometimes, the only mistake is assuming you know who belongs where. Lauren's smirk falters, just for a heartbeat, before she forces her professional demeanor back into place. She turns sharply, moving back up the aisle with quick, clipped steps, her heels tapping firmly against the carpet. The camera lingers on Amara's serene face for a moment before panning to the nearby passengers, the nosy socialite's smug grin, the businessman's silent disapproval, Grace's uneasy expression, each one reacting differently as the tension in the cabin thickens. The underscore deepens, the faint hum of the engines becoming more pronounced as the screen fades to black, the confrontation looming closer. Accidents happen, but not like this. Lauren's patience is wearing thin, and now, she's ready to push her target into a reaction. One deliberate mistake, and suddenly the entire cabin is watching. But Amara? She doesn't break. She fires back, without raising her voice. The jet glides smoothly at cruising altitude, sunlight streaming through the oval windows, illuminating the cream leather seats and gold trim with a warm midday glow. The passengers are mostly quiet now, some sipping drinks, others scrolling or reading, while the subtle tension around row 4 hangs in the air like static. Lauren Reed moves down the aisle again, her tight blonde bun perfect, navy and gold uniform immaculate, red silk scarf draped sharply over one shoulder. Her tray of sparkling water and wine glasses rattles softly as she approaches, her eyes flicking toward Amara Carter with a faint, calculated glint. Amara sits calmly by the window, tailored navy blazer pristine, cream blouse crisp, sleek shoulder-length waves resting neatly along her shoulders. Her leather planner rests closed on her lap, her gaze steady on the book she's been quietly reading. As Lauren nears, Amara adjusts slightly in her seat, stretching one leg subtly into the aisle, not obstructing, just a natural shift. Lauren's eyes catch the movement. Her lips curl into a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. In one fluid motion, Lauren veers sharply, her foot striking Amara's leg as she tilts the tray, sending a glass of sparkling water spilling across Amara's lap and onto the floor. Lauren gasps theatrically, her voice sharp, loud, and pitched just high enough to draw the attention of nearby rows. Lauren, accusing. Watch where you're putting your legs. You've just caused a mess in the cabin. Heads turn instantly. The nosy socialite gasps softly, covering her mouth with faux shock, while a few passengers pull out their phones. The businessman across the aisle leans forward slightly, his jaw tight, his eyes narrowing at Lauren. Amara's head lifts from her book. She brushes the water gently from her trousers, her expression steady, not a flicker of anger breaking through as she turns her calm gaze to Lauren. Her voice is smooth, even, cutting through the murmurs like a blade of calm steel. Amara. You walked into me, not the other way around. Lauren's eyes flash, her composure faltering. Her lips press into a tight line before curling into a sharp, mocking smile. Lauren, mockingly sweet. Maybe if you stayed in your seat properly, we wouldn't be cleaning up after you. Amara tilts her head slightly, her gaze unwavering. Her words, when they come, are soft but deliberate, each syllable landing with weight. Amara. Respect is free. But somehow, some people just can't seem to afford it. The murmurs among the passengers swell. The businessman's brow lifts slightly, impressed by her restraint, while Grace, standing near the galley, bites her lip, her hands tightening around a folded napkin as she watches silently. Lauren, realizing the murmurs are against her, forces a brittle smile and crouches to dab the spill with a towel, her jaw tight, her motions sharp and quick. She avoids Amara's gaze as she mutters under her breath. Lauren, low, tense. Let's hope you're worth all this trouble. Amara doesn't respond. She simply turns her eyes back to the window, the sunlight glinting softly off her gold watch as the camera lingers on her unshaken demeanor. The underscore swells slowly, blending with the hum of the engines as the screen fades to black, the confrontation building toward an inevitable explosion. The whispers aren't enough for her anymore. The sideways glances? Not enough either. Now Lauren wants the whole cabin to hear, loud, clear, and undeniable, that row 4 is a problem. And for the first time, every passenger starts to realize the trouble might not be who they thought. The luxury jet hums steadily at altitude, sunlight still streaming through the oval windows, bathing the cream leather seats and gold accents in a warm glow. The cabin is quieter now, but attention lingers like a low static charge, every passenger aware of the brewing hostility near row 4. Lauren Reed, her tight blonde bun immaculate, navy and gold uniform and red silk scarf as polished as ever, walks deliberately down the aisle, her clipboard tucked firmly under her arm. Her posture is sharp and commanding, her heels striking the carpet with clipped precision. She stops at row 4, directly in front of Amara Carter, and plants herself in the aisle. The camera pans slightly upward, catching the faint narrowing of her eyes before she speaks. Her voice is loud enough to carry across 3 rows in either direction, ensuring no one misses her point. Lauren, firm, sharp. Ma'am, this is your last warning. If you can't follow cabin protocol and stop disrupting service, I will have you moved to the back of the plane. The nosy socialite gasps softly, her pearl earrings catching the light as she leans forward eagerly. Nosy socialite, whispering to her companion. Told you. She won't last another hour here. Across the aisle, the businessman's brows knit together, his calm, collected demeanor hardening as his jaw tightens. He leans back in his seat, his eyes fixed on Lauren, but says nothing, yet. Grace, standing near the galley, stiffens visibly. Her lips part as if to interject, but Lauren's sharp, sideways glance cuts her off before she can even take a step forward. Amara remains seated and composed, her posture straight, her sleek shoulder-length waves resting softly against her blazer, her leather planner closed on her lap. When she finally speaks, her voice is low and steady, but carries with effortless weight, enough to silence the murmurs for a moment. Amara. Call whoever you need. But I'm not moving. A few murmurs ripple through the cabin, some passengers exchanging curious glances. The businessman's brow arches slightly, while the nosy socialite shifts in her seat, her smirk faltering as the atmosphere shifts. Lauren's smile sharpens, her eyes narrowing. She gestures toward Grace with a clipped motion, her tone laced with authority. Lauren. Grace, escort her to the back. Now. Grace freezes, her hand tightening on the passenger list she's holding. Her voice, when she finds it, is soft but audible enough for Lauren to hear. Grace, hesitant. Lauren, maybe we should double-check the manifest first. Lauren cuts her off immediately, her voice snapping with irritation, louder than before. Lauren. I said now. She's disrupting the cabin, and I won't tolerate it. The businessman finally leans forward, his calm voice cutting across the tension like a cool blade. Businessman, firmly. From where I'm sitting, the only disruption is coming from you. A few passengers murmur in agreement. The camera pans between Lauren's tightening jaw, Grace's anxious face, and Amara's unshaken calm, her gaze locked steadily on Lauren. The underscore swells subtly, the hum of the engines growing louder as the screen fades to black on the image of Lauren's finger twitching against her clipboard, a silent sign that she's not done yet. She's not whispering anymore. No more clipped tones or cold smiles. Now Lauren is done pretending, her voice raised, her finger jabbing, her temper on full display. And as the entire cabin watches, it's clear, she's just stepped past the point of no return. The luxury jet cabin is silent now, save for the low hum of engines and the faint rattle of glasses as the turbulence begins to nudge the plane. Sunlight streams through the oval windows, but the glow feels colder, sharper, as every eye turns toward row 4. Lauren Reed stands in the aisle, her posture rigid, tight blonde bun unmoving despite the tremor in her stance, her navy and gold uniform crisp, red silk scarf angled sharply like a slash across her chest. But her voice is no longer polished. It's raised, sharp, echoing across the quiet cabin. Lauren, angrily. You are harassing my crew and disrupting my flight, ma'am. Either you move to the back, or I will have you escorted off this plane entirely when we land. Her finger jabs toward Amara Carter's chest, her hand trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the barely contained fury bubbling beneath her forced professionalism. Amara remains seated, calm, her posture straight and unmoving, her sleek shoulder-length waves softly brushing her blazer as she tilts her chin upward to meet Lauren's glare. Her leather planter rests untouched on her lap, her hands folded neatly over it. The nosy socialite leans even closer into the aisle, her pearl earrings swaying as she whispers, almost gleefully. Nosy socialite, whispering to her companion. She's finished. They're going to drag her out. Across the aisle, the businessman's calm mask cracks slightly, his brow furrowing as his gaze hardens on Lauren, his hands now clasped tightly on his knees. Grace, standing a few rows back, clutches the folded passenger list tighter, her knuckles whitening, her lips pressing into a thin line as she watches silently. Lauren steps closer, her voice rising another octave, her finger still stabbing toward Amara. Lauren, snapping. Admit it. You're in the wrong seat. You think because you flashed some pass, you can sit up here and act however you want? You're not above the rules. Amara finally moves, but only slightly. She raises her eyes from Lauren's jabbing finger to meet her gaze directly. Her voice is low, even, calm, and yet it carries effortlessly, slicing through the tension like a razor. Amara. Your anger is louder than my actions. That says everything. The cabin murmurs ripple. The businessman's brow lifts slightly, while the nosy socialite's smirk falters just for a moment. Grace shifts, her weight moving forward as if she might finally intervene. Lauren's face flushes red, her teeth gritting as her hand drops from pointing to clenching into a fist at her side. Her jaw tightens, but her voice, though still sharp, trembles faintly at the edges. Lauren, through clenched teeth. You're done here. The camera pans slowly from Lauren's trembling, clenched hand to Amara's steady, composed expression, before lingering on the surrounding passengers, their faces a mix of shock, curiosity, and dawning suspicion that Lauren might be the real problem. The underscore grows heavy, the faint hum of the engine swelling beneath as the screen fades to black, leaving only Lauren's ragged breathing and the tension of the moment lingering in the air. Words can sting. Glares can cut. But actions? Actions can set the whole cabin on fire. Lauren's anger isn't just heard anymore, it's seen, felt, and gasped at. And with one reckless move, the whispers turn into shouts, and every phone comes out. The luxury jet hums steadily, sunlight streaming through the oval windows, highlighting the cream leather seats, gold accents, and the silent, tense passengers watching from every direction. The faint clink of ice in glasses and the hum of the engines are the only sounds, until Lauren snaps. Lauren Reed, her tight blonde bun perfect but her composure unraveling, stands directly in front of row 4. Her navy and gold uniform is still pristine, red silk scarf angled sharply across her chest, but her eyes flash with barely contained fury. She looks down at Amara Carter, poised, calm, her tailored navy blazer and cream blouse untouched by the tension, her sleek shoulder-length waves still perfectly framing her serene expression. Her leather planter rests neatly on her lap, her ticket tucked inside. Lauren's voice, when it comes, is sharper than before, pitched to ensure every nearby passenger hears. Lauren, through clenched teeth. You think sitting here makes you special? You've been nothing but disruptive since you boarded. Without warning, Lauren slaps the planter from Amara's lap, the leather-bound book tumbling to the carpet with a heavy thud. The boarding pass slips free, fluttering beneath a seat. The entire cabin erupts in audible gasps. The nosy socialite's smirk vanishes, her eyes widening as she clutches her pearls. A few rows back, passengers immediately pull out their phones, recording as whispers ripple in a rising wave. Passenger 1, whispering loudly. Did she just? Passenger 2, to their companion. She slapped it right out of her hands. Oh, this is going viral. Across the aisle, the businessman's calm demeanor hardens into quiet outrage. He half stands, his deep voice cutting across the murmurs with authority. Businessman, firmly. That's enough. Grace, clutching the passenger list at the back of the cabin, takes a half step forward, her lips parting, but her hesitation freezes her in place. Amara, however, doesn't rise. She slowly leans down, picks up the planner, and slides the ticket back inside. Her movements are deliberate, calm, each gesture slow and precise as the eyes of the cabin remain locked on her. When she looks back up, her voice is low, measured, and unwavering, the kind of calm that makes the moment even more tense. Amara, you just made the biggest mistake of your career. Lauren's nostrils flare. Her lips part, ready to retort, but she falters for a fraction of a second as the words hang heavy in the air. The murmurs swell, not against Amara, but against Lauren. The camera pans slowly across the surrounding passengers, the socialite's shock, the businessman's stern glare, Grace's pale, conflicted face, and the phones capturing every moment. The underscore shifts, the hum of the engines growing heavier beneath a rising note of suspense as the screen fades to black, leaving Lauren standing rigid and Amara seated, calm, collected, and now in quiet control of the moment. The cabin is buzzing. Phones are recording. Eyes are everywhere. But the woman everyone's watching doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't even raise her voice. Instead, she moves in silence, one small action that will change the entire flight. And Lauren? She has no idea she's already lost. The luxury jet's interior hums softly, sunlight streaming through the oval windows, catching on the cream leather seats and gold-trimmed trays. The murmurs of passengers ripple like quiet waves, some whispering, some muttering into their phones as they record the aftermath of the altercation. Lauren Reed stands rigid in the aisle, her tight blonde bun and pristine navy and gold uniform still immaculate, red silk scarf hanging perfectly, but her jaw clenched so tightly it trembles. Her eyes flit around the cabin, realizing, perhaps for the first time, that every single passenger is watching her. Recording her. Across from her, Amara Carter remains seated by the window, calm, collected, her tailored navy blazer flawless, cream blouse pristine, sleek shoulder-length waves falling naturally along her shoulders. Her leather planner rests neatly back on her lap, the boarding pass tucked inside once more. She doesn't speak. She doesn't look at Lauren. Instead, she reaches slowly for her phone, a slim black device resting on the armrest. Her movements are deliberate, unhurried, and quiet. The camera closes in on her hands as she types quickly, her fingers steady, before setting the phone back down, screen dark. She finally lifts her eyes, her voice soft but resonant, calm but carrying a weight that draws every nearby ear. Amara, you've just made a mistake you can't undo. Lauren scoffs, forcing a brutal laugh, her voice pitched higher than usual as she gestures toward Grace with a sharp flick of her wrist. Lauren, snapping. Grace, stop standing there and move her. I'm not asking again. Grace freezes, clutching the folded passenger list so tightly her knuckles blanch. Her voice, when she finally speaks, is quiet, hesitant. Grace, softly. Lauren, maybe you should double-check who you're talking to before this goes any further. Lauren's head snaps toward Grace, her eyes flashing with anger, her voice cutting like glass. Lauren, I don't need to double-check anything. I know who belongs here and who doesn't. The camera pans slowly to Amara, whose eyes remain locked on Lauren, calm, steady, unblinking. Around them, the murmurs grow, passengers leaning closer, phones still raised. The businessman across the aisle leans slightly forward, his expression calm but knowing, like he already suspects what's coming. Amara doesn't reply. She simply folds her hands over her planner, her gold watch catching the sunlight, and turns her gaze back to the window, letting the tension hang thick in the air. The underscore deepens, a low, suspenseful note swelling beneath the steady hum of the engines as the screen fades to black, the weight of her calm composure signaling that the real shift is about to begin. Lauren thought she controlled the aisle. The passengers. The story. But when the cockpit door opens, everything changes. Because the person she's been calling trouble? She isn't just another passenger. She's the one who decides whether this flight, and Lauren's career, keeps going. The luxury jet hums steadily, sunlight still pouring through the oval windows, illuminating the cream leather seats, gold trim, and the tense faces of every passenger watching. The murmurs are louder now, some whispering, others recording, all waiting to see what happens next. Lauren Reed stands rigid in the aisle, her tight blonde bun perfect, navy and gold uniform crisp, red silk scarf sharp against her chest. Her clipboard trembles slightly in her grip, though her jaw remains tight, her professional mask still barely holding. Suddenly, the cockpit door swings open with a soft hiss. The sound cuts through the cabin, silencing even the whispers. The pilot steps out, mid-40s, broad-shouldered, his face pale, his movements brisk but deliberate. His crisp uniform is immaculate, but his expression is tense as his eyes sweep across the cabin. Without a word, he walks straight down the aisle toward Lauren. Lauren turns sharply, her tone clipped and annoyed. "Lauren." "Captain, I'm handling it. Just a disruptive passenger in row 4. I'll have her moved." The pilot stops directly in front of her, his voice calm but carrying a quiet authority that cuts the air like a blade. "Pilot. Step aside, Lauren. Now." Lauren blinks, her brow furrowing as her voice pitches upward slightly in forced confusion. Lauren, defensive. "Excuse me? I said I have it under control." The pilot's gaze hardens, flicking briefly toward row 4 before returning to Lauren. His next words are low, deliberate, and devastatingly clear, loud enough for the entire cabin to hear. "Pilot. That's not just a passenger. That's Ms. Amara Carter, the owner of this plane. And this airline." The words land like a thunderclap. The cabin erupts in gasps and murmurs. The nosy socialite audibly inhales, her smirk vanishing as her eyes dart between Amara and Lauren. The businessman leans back slowly in his seat, a knowing half-smile flickering across his lips, as if confirming a suspicion. Grace, still clutching the passenger list near the galley, lets out a soft, shaky exhale of relief, her shoulders finally easing. Lauren, however, freezes completely, her face draining of color. Her clipboard dips slightly in her grip as her lips part soundlessly. Her professional mask cracks. For the first time, she doesn't know what to say. Amara, still seated by the window, doesn't react outwardly. Her sleek shoulder-length waves catch the sunlight as she turns her head slightly, her calm gaze meeting Lauren's for a fraction of a second before returning to the view outside. The camera slowly pans across the cabin, the stunned passengers, the phones raised even higher, the captain standing firm, and Lauren stunned, pale face as she finally steps back, her heels clicking softly against the carpet. The underscore swells into a rising, tense chord, the hum of the engines blending with the murmurs as the screen fades to black, the balance of power permanently shifted. Gasps. Murmurs. Whispers. But after the captain's words, a heavier silence settles in. Every passenger knows the truth now. Every phone is recording. And Lauren? She's not just outnumbered. She's exposed. The luxury jet cabin feels colder now, despite the bright daylight spilling through the oval windows, casting soft beams across the cream leather seats and polished gold details. The low hum of the engines fills the air, but the usual chatter of passengers has stopped. Every eye is fixed on row 4, on Amara Carter, the woman who has sat silently through whispers, pointed fingers, and open hostility, only to be revealed as the owner of the very airline flying these passengers. Amara remains exactly as she has been, calm, composed, her tailored navy blazer immaculate, cream blouse perfect, sleek shoulder-length waves resting softly against her shoulders. Her hands are folded over her leather planner, her gold watch catching a glint of sunlight as she gazes quietly out the window. Across from her, Lauren Reed stands motionless, her tight blonde bun still perfect, navy and gold uniform pristine, but her face drained of color, her lips parted without a sound. Her clipboard now hangs limply at her side, the fingers gripping it trembling slightly. The nosy socialite across the aisle stares wide-eyed, her earlier smugness gone. She leans toward her companion and whispers, just loud enough for the nearest rows to hear. Nosy socialite, whispering. She owns the plane? The businessman sits back slowly, folding his hands together, his calm expression hardening as he turns his gaze to Lauren. His voice is low, but it carries just enough weight to make Lauren stiffen. "Businessman. Looks like we all misjudged who was trouble." Lauren's throat works as she tries to swallow, her eyes darting from Amara to the passengers around her, every one of them holding their phones up, capturing her downfall. Grace, still near the galley, finally exhales a shaky breath, relief flickering across her features as she steps slightly forward. She doesn't speak yet, but her eyes, now on Amara instead of Lauren, soften. For a long beat, the cabin stays silent, save for the faint, rhythmic hum of the engines. The camera pans slowly across the rows, capturing the wide-eyed passengers, the recording phones, Lauren's trembling hand, and finally Amara's serene profile as she turns her gaze from the window toward the aisle. Her voice, when it finally breaks the silence, is quiet, calm, but layered with steel. "Amara. This flight will be landing sooner than expected." The murmurs ripple softly again, passengers exchanging looks, some startled, others intrigued, as the underscore swells gently under the hum of the engines. The screen fades to black, tension hanging heavy as everyone waits for what happens next. The whispers return, heavier now. Louder. Because when the captain's voice fills the cabin, everyone knows this isn't just a warning. Something big is about to happen. And the passengers? They can feel it. On the ground below, the storm is already waiting. The luxury jet cuts smoothly through the clouds, sunlight pouring through the oval windows, but the cabin is no longer relaxed. The cream leather seats and gold trim gleam in the light, but the atmosphere feels tense, like the air is charged. Lauren Reed stands several rows back now, shoulders stiff, clipboard clutched tightly in both hands, her tight blonde bun and pristine navy and gold uniform suddenly looking less like symbols of authority and more like armor she's hiding behind. Her jaw is tight, her face pale. At the front of the cabin, the captain's voice crackles softly over the intercom, his tone firm and calm, but carrying an unmistakable weight. "Captain, over intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be making an unscheduled landing shortly. Please remain seated and secure your belongings. Further instructions will follow upon arrival." A ripple of murmurs surges through the cabin. The nosy socialite gasps softly, clutching her pearls as she whispers to her companion. Nosy socialite, whispering. Unscheduled landing? Is this about her? Are they arresting someone? Across the aisle, the businessman leans forward slightly, his voice calm but carrying a note of curiosity as he murmurs toward no one in particular. Businessman, quietly. This isn't about arresting someone. This is about making an example. Grace, still near the galley, glances toward Amara Carter, who remains seated by the window, perfectly calm, her tailored navy blazer pristine, cream blouse catching the sunlight, sleek shoulder-length waves unmoving as she gazes at the clouds outside. Her hands rest lightly on her leather planner, her gold watch glinting softly with each movement. Amara doesn't speak. She doesn't even look at Lauren. She simply leans back in her seat slightly, her posture relaxed, as though she's the only person on board who isn't uncertain about what's coming. Outside the windows, the clouds part to reveal a private airstrip below, and on the tarmac, a fleet of sleek black SUVs already parked in formation, their glossy exteriors reflecting the afternoon sun. The scene below looks deliberate, prepared, ominous. The passengers press closer to their windows, phones raised, whispers swelling into hushed chatter. Passenger 1, muttering. What is going on? Passenger 2, whispering. Who is she, really? Passenger 3, soft gasp. Those SUVs, they're here for her, aren't they? Lauren's eyes flick nervously toward the window, her grip on the clipboard tightening as she realizes this isn't going to be a quiet reprimand. Whatever happens on the ground, it's going to be public and permanent. The underscore swells, a deep, rolling note underscoring the rising murmurs as the plane begins its smooth descent. The camera pans from the anxious faces of the passengers to Amara's calm, steady profile, her expression unreadable as the sunlight frames her face. The screen fades to black on the sound of the landing gear deploying, the tension in the air thick enough to choke on. She thought she owned the aisle. the tone, the story. But now, the only thing Lauren owns is her shame. Every passenger is watching. Every phone is recording. And Amara? She doesn't say a word. She doesn't have to. The jet touches down smoothly, the soft thud of the wheels echoing through the otherwise silent cabin. Outside the windows, the fleet of sleek black SUVs waits on the tarmac, their glossy surfaces glinting in the bright daylight. Inside, the atmosphere is electric, a mix of tension, curiosity, and the cold satisfaction of witnessing justice unfold. Lauren Reed stands at the rear of the cabin now, rigid, her tight blonde bun immaculate, her navy and gold uniform pristine, but her face pale, her knuckles white as they clutch her clipboard. She tries to keep her chin high, but her eyes betray the tremor of panic. The captain steps into the aisle, his voice calm but firm. "Captain. Ms. Reed, you're to collect your belongings and exit the plane immediately. Security will escort you." The cabin stirs instantly. Gasps, murmurs, the soft hum of phones recording every moment. The nosy socialite whispers excitedly to her companion, unable to hide her glee despite her earlier disdain. Nosy socialite, whispering. She's being walked off, in front of everyone. Lauren's jaw tightens, her lips pressing into a thin, white line. She steps into the aisle, her heels clicking sharply against the carpet, the clipboard now tucked tightly under her arm like a shield. She walks the length of the cabin, every eye locked on her. Every phone raised. Some passengers whisper, others just stare. The businessman across the aisle watches her with quiet disapproval, his calm gaze following her until she reaches the exit. Amara Carter sits still and composed in row 4, her tailored navy blazer perfect, cream blouse catching the light, sleek shoulder-length waves softly framing her calm expression. She doesn't speak. She doesn't even look directly at Lauren. Her presence alone, quiet, poised, immovable, is enough. Lauren pauses near the door, her breath shaky as she turns slightly toward the captain, her voice low and desperate. Lauren, whispering. "Please, this doesn't have to be public. I can explain." The captain's gaze hardens, his reply short and cold. "Captain. It's already public, Lauren." Two black-suited security officers step onto the plane, their expressions neutral but firm. One gestures toward the exit. "Security officer. This way, ma'am." Lauren's shoulders slump, her clipboard slipping slightly as she's guided down the stairs, every passenger's phone capturing the walk of shame. The camera lingers on Amara's face as she finally turns her head, her calm gaze following Lauren only for a moment before she looks back to the clouds outside the window. She still hasn't spoken a word. The underscore deepens, a low, resolute note as the screen fades to black on the sight of Lauren stepping off the jet, her once commanding posture now reduced to a defeated silhouette against the shining SUVs waiting below. She's been silent the whole flight. Calm. Measured. But when the doors open, she finally speaks. Not to argue. Not to gloat. Just to make sure everyone, on the ground and in the air, hears her point. And it only takes one sentence to send her message worldwide. The luxury jet door swings open, the softness of pressurized air mixing with the steady hum of engines cooling. The bright afternoon sun floods the cabin, casting long shadows across the cream leather seats and gold trim as the passengers press closer to the windows, phones still recording. Outside, the fleet of sleek black SUVs waits in formation, their tinted windows reflecting the blinding sunlight. Two sharply dressed assistants stand at the bottom of the stairway, tablets in hand, their movements brisk and purposeful as they coordinate quietly with the waiting drivers. Lauren Reed is nowhere to be seen, already escorted off, her silhouette swallowed by the waiting SUVs moments ago. The murmurs among the passengers are quieter now, replaced by an almost reverent anticipation as all eyes shift toward row 4. Amara Carter finally rises from her seat. Her tailored navy blazer is flawless, cream blouse pristine, sleek shoulder-length waves perfectly in place as she steps into the aisle. Her gold watch catches the sunlight as she adjusts her blazer button, her posture tall, commanding without a word. Grace, standing near the galley, instinctively straightens as Amara passes, her expression respectful but tinged with awe. The businessman gives a slight nod, his calm gaze following her as she approaches the exit. At the door, the reporters stationed on the tarmac spot her, their voices rising over the low hum of engines as microphones and cameras extend. Reporter 1, calling out. "Ms. Carter! Can you tell us what happened on board?" Reporter 2. "Is the employee facing charges? Will this affect your airline's image?" Amara pauses at the top of the stairway. The wind lifts a strand of her sleek hair as she turns her gaze toward the cluster of reporters below. Her voice, when it comes, is low, clear, and deliberate, cutting through the noise without needing to be raised. "Amara, respect is not optional. You'll hear more soon." The reporters erupt into questions, flashes popping as microphones extend further, but Amara doesn't linger. She descends the stairs at a steady pace, her assistants falling in step beside her, one handing her a tablet, the other shielding her from the press. The camera lingers on the passengers inside the cabin, many still filming as they watch her step into the lead SUV. The nosy socialite whispers to her companion, her voice low, almost awed. Nosy socialite, softly. "I didn't expect that." She never even raised her voice. The underscore swells, a slow, commanding tone as the SUV doors close and the convoy pulls away, leaving the plane and its stunned passengers behind. The screen fades to black on the image of Amara's calm silhouette in the back seat, sunlight glinting off the edge of her watch as the convoy heads toward the horizon. She handled the plane without raising her voice. But now, behind closed doors, her tone changes. Because this wasn't just one flight attendant losing control. This was a crack in her empire, and Amara Carter doesn't let cracks stay open for long. The camera cuts from the roaring tarmac to a sleek, glass-walled boardroom in the heart of the airline's corporate headquarters. The skyline stretches beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city glowing in the late afternoon sun. The room is modern and immaculate, white marble floors, dark oak table, chrome accents. Amara Carter stands at the head of the table, her tailored navy blazer now swapped for a darker, more formal black suit jacket, her sleek shoulder-length waves tucked neatly behind her ears. Her gold watch gleams faintly under the recessed lighting as she sets a sleek tablet on the polished wood. Around her, 6 senior executives sit uneasily, all wearing expensive suits but noticeably tense. They glance nervously between one another as a large screen at the far end of the room flickers to life. On the screen, the footage captured by passengers on the flight plays silently. Lauren reads escalating tirades, her finger in Amara's face, the slap of the planner onto the floor, and finally, the pilot announcing Amara's identity as the owner. No one speaks. The only sounds are the faint hum of the HVAC system and the quiet clicking of Amara's nails against the tablet as she pauses the footage at Lauren's outburst, the image frozen mid-gesture. Her voice, when it comes, is calm but sharp, colder than it was on the plane, each word measured like a scalpel cutting through the silence. "Amara, this isn't about one employee embarrassing herself. This is about us allowing a culture where this could happen, on my plane, in my cabin." An executive at the far end, a balding man with a gray tie, clears his throat nervously. Executive, cautiously. "With respect, Ms. Carter." Lauren was a senior attendant. "She's been here for years. Incidents like this are rare." "Perhaps." Amara's eyes lift sharply to his, her tone dropping into something lower, firmer, her words cutting him off without needing to raise her voice. "Amara, rare doesn't mean acceptable. Rare doesn't mean excusable. And rare doesn't mean it can't happen again, unless we make sure it doesn't." The executive falls silent, his lips pressing into a thin line. The others avert their eyes, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Amara taps the tablet once more, the screen filling with names, faces, and internal reports, a list of crew flagged for prior complaints, performance issues, or behavioral red flags. Amara, decisive. Every one of these files gets reopened tonight. No exceptions. I don't care how long they've been here or who they know in this company. The standard changes now, or people leave tomorrow. The room stays silent, the tension heavy as her words hang in the air. Amara picks up her tablet, her heels clicking softly against the marble as she turns toward the exit, pausing only briefly at the doorway. Amara, over her shoulder, calm but final. We don't just fly people. We set the example. Make sure the next time someone says my name on a flight, it's out of respect, not scandal. The camera lingers on the uneasy executives, exchanging wary glances as the door closes softly behind her, the faint echo of her heels fading down the hallway. The underscore swells, a low, deliberate tone, as the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's response isn't over, it's just beginning. The flight was just the spark. Now the fire spreads, not to burn the company down, but to cleanse it. Because Amara Carter doesn't just punish one mistake. She dismantles the system that allowed it to happen. The camera shifts from the quiet, tension-filled boardroom to the buzzing interior of the airline's operations hub, a vast, open-floor office with rows of desks, glass-walled meeting rooms, and screens flashing flight data across every wall. The evening light filters in through tall windows, casting sharp shadows across the room. The energy is chaotic but focused. Teams of analysts, HR staff, and managers shuffle briskly between desks, clutching tablets and reports. Stacks of personnel files, flagged complaints, and crew performance reviews cover every table, some pages marked in red. At the center of the chaos, Amara Carter walks calmly through the hub, her black tailored suit sharp, sleek shoulder-length waves framing her focused expression. Her gold watch glints as she holds a slim tablet in one hand, scanning through names and reports as she moves. She pauses at a workstation where a young HR manager nervously scrolls through a database of flagged crew. The screen shows a growing list, employees with unresolved passenger complaints, attitude warnings, or professionalism issues. Amara, quiet, firm. I want every one of these reviewed by midnight. Anyone with repeated violations, gone by morning. The HR manager nods quickly, fingers flying over the keyboard, their nervous energy contrasting sharply with Amara's calm presence. The camera follows Amara as she steps into a glass-walled conference room, where 3 senior department heads stand around a large screen. The screen displays footage from multiple flights, recordings, passenger feedback logs, and employee behavior audits. One of the department heads, a stoic woman in her 50s, gestures toward a highlighted section of the report. Department head. Ms. Carter, there's a pattern here. Certain bases have crew who. Amara raises a hand slightly, her voice calm but commanding. Amara. I don't want excuses. I want solutions. Fix the training. Fix the screening. Fix the culture. And if that means replacing teams, then start replacements tonight. The room falls silent, the department heads exchanging wary glances before nodding. Amara turns, her heels clicking against the polished floor as she exits, her silhouette framed by the fading evening light streaming through the windows. Her voice, soft but final, echoes behind her as the door closes. Amara. The airline's reputation doesn't rest on our planes. It rests on our people. And starting now, our people change. The camera lingers on the bustling operations hub, screens glowing, staff working furiously as files are stacked, calls made, and policies rewritten in real time. The underscore builds with a slow, resolute intensity, the hum of activity rising until the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's overhaul is just beginning to ripple outward. The world heard the whispers from that flight. The footage went viral. The headlines screamed scandal. But when Amara Carter steps up to the podium, she doesn't hide. She turns the story, and the entire industry, on its head. The scene opens on a polished press hall, cameras flashing as journalists crowd the rows of seats. The room is sleek and modern, with spotlights reflecting off a dark wood stage and a backdrop emblazoned with the airline's logo. At the center, Amara Carter stands at the podium. Her black tailored suit is impeccable, a single gold pin on her lapel catching the stage lights. Her sleek shoulder-length waves are styled neatly, framing her calm, composed face. Before her, dozens of reporters aim cameras and microphones forward, the low rumble of chatter filling the space until it fades as Amara raises her hand slightly. Her voice, when she begins, is steady, deliberate, each word crafted to land with weight. Amara. You've seen the video. You've heard the outrage. And you've heard words like scandal, mistake, and incident. She pauses, her gaze sweeping across the sea of cameras, her tone lowering slightly. Amara. But this isn't about one employee losing her temper. This is about something bigger, a culture we, as an industry, have allowed to fester. A culture where bias can hide behind a uniform, and power can be abused at 30,000 feet. The reporters lean forward, their cameras clicking rapidly as her words echo in the hall. Amara continues, her tone sharpening slightly, though still calm. Amara. That ends here. Today, my airline implements a new zero-tolerance standard. No crew member, regardless of rank, is above respect. No passenger, regardless of appearance, is beneath dignity. And no one, not even me, is exempt from accountability. The murmurs from the crowd grow, reporters scribbling notes furiously as she steps slightly back from the podium, her gold watch glinting softly under the lights. A reporter from the front row calls out. Reporter! Ms. Carter, what about the employee from the incident? What happens next? Amara pauses, her expression calm but unyielding as she leans slightly toward the microphone. Amara. She's been removed permanently. But this isn't about punishing one person. It's about ensuring no passenger ever feels what I, or anyone else, felt on that flight. This is about changing the system. The crowd murmurs again, flashes popping as the camera lingers on Amara's calm expression. She steps back from the podium, her voice lowering just slightly as she concludes. Amara. Luxury isn't just about first-class seats and champagne. It's about how we treat people. And my airline will now lead the way. The room erupts in questions and applause as she turns from the podium, her assistants falling into step beside her as she exits the stage. The underscore swells with a steady, rising tone, blending with the sound of camera shutters as the screen fades to black on the side of Amara's silhouette disappearing behind the curtain, her control over the narrative now absolute. One flight. One video. One sentence on a tarmac. Now the entire industry is scrambling, not because of the scandal, but because of what Amara Carter just did with it. While rivals panic, she's already moving on to her next move. The camera opens on a montage of news broadcasts and online headlines, clips flashing across the screen. Viral flight video sparks industry-wide scrutiny. Amara Carter declares zero-tolerance policy, rivals forced to respond. Airlines rethink training as Carter Airlines surges in bookings. Cameras flash across different newsrooms, anchors discussing the footage from the plane, the bold company-wide overhaul, and Amara's poised public address. The scene transitions to the corporate offices of rival airlines, where executives scramble in chaotic meetings. Reports and graphs scatter across tables as voices rise. Rival Executive 1, frustrated. She turned a PR nightmare into a recruitment drive. Look at these numbers, her bookings are up 18% in 2 days. Rival Executive 2, panicking. Every outlet's praising her response. If we don't match her new policies, we're next in line for backlash. The camera pans to Amara Carter, seated in a sleek, minimalist private office high above the city skyline. The space is immaculate, dark wood, glass, and soft lighting, a far cry from the chaos in her competitors' boardrooms. Amara sits calmly at her desk, her black tailored suit as sharp as ever, sleek shoulder-length waves perfectly framing her focused expression. Her gold watch glints faintly as she scrolls through a tablet, reviewing industry reports while a muted news segment plays in the background, her press conference on repeat. Her assistant, a young professional in a crisp gray suit, approaches quietly, holding a folder. Assistant. The media momentum's holding. Bookings are rising. And 3 rival airlines have already announced emergency retraining initiatives, citing your statement as the catalyst. Amara doesn't look up from the tablet. Her voice is soft, deliberate, controlled. Amara. Let them scramble. We don't react to headlines, we set them. The assistant nods, retreating silently as Amara taps her tablet, pulling up a new set of slides, expansion plans, new service concepts, and international partnership proposals. The camera slowly zooms out, the city lights glowing beneath her office windows, her silhouette calm and focused against the sprawling skyline. The underscore swells with a steady, confident rhythm, signaling that while the scandal ignited the fire, Amara is already using it to grow her empire. The screen fades to black, lingering on her steady figure, a reminder that she's never just reacting, she's always moving forward. She's been the calm in every storm. Unshaken on the plane. Commanding in the boardroom. Untouchable in the press. But when the doors close, and the cameras are gone, Amara Carter is still human. And for one rare moment, she lets herself feel the weight of it all. The camera opens on a quiet penthouse apartment, high above the city skyline. The floor-to-ceiling windows frame a panoramic view of twinkling city lights, the soft glow of the skyline reflected against the polished wood floors and sleek, minimalist furniture. The room is dim, illuminated only by the warm glow of a single floor lamp beside a cream leather sofa. On a low table sits a half-finished glass of wine and Amara's leather planner, closed, resting beside her gold watch. Amara Carter sits at the edge of the sofa, her tailored black blazer draped over the backrest, leaving her in a simple silk blouse. Her sleek shoulder-length waves are slightly looser now, framing her face softly as she leans forward, elbows on her knees, hands loosely clasped. The apartment is silent, save for the faint hum of the city beyond the windows. No assistants. No board members. No cameras. Her phone buzzes on the table, a notification lighting up the screen with a headline, Amara Carter's airline sets new standard for the industry. She glances at it briefly, then sets it face down without opening it. Her eyes drift toward the skyline, and for a moment, her shoulders lower ever so slightly. Her breath catches just enough to break her otherwise composed exterior as she murmurs softly, almost to herself. Amara, quietly. Even calm has its limits. She leans back slowly, closing her eyes for a moment as the camera lingers on her reflection in the glass window, poised but slightly weary, a rare glimpse at the weight behind her control. After a long pause, she picks up the planner from the table, sliding her gold watch back onto her wrist. Her voice, quiet but firm now, breaks the silence as she glances toward the glowing skyline. Amara. Time to make sure this never happens again. The underscore swells softly, a slower, more introspective melody than before, as the screen fades to black on Amara's silhouette against the glittering cityscape, a reminder of her resolve, even in her most human moments. Her silence shook the cabin. Her words shook the press. But now, Amara Carter does something bigger than both. She changes the way her empire runs, and every employee will know it. Because this isn't a memo, this is a movement. The camera opens inside a massive training facility, the airline's logo prominently displayed across a sleek glass wall. The space is bright and modern, with rows of large screens, polished white floors, and clusters of employees seated in formation. Every flight attendant, supervisor, and crew lead in the company is gathered, hundreds in total, dressed in neat uniforms. The air is thick with tension. This isn't a routine meeting. At the center of the room, Amara Carter steps onto a raised platform. Her dark, tailored suit is flawless, her sleek shoulder-length waves styled neatly, her gold watch catching the overhead lights. The soft murmur of the crowd falls silent as she approaches the podium. A large screen behind her lights up, displaying bold words, "Respect is non-negotiable." Her voice, when she speaks, is steady, firm, and carries across the hall with precision. Amara. You've all seen what happened. Some of you were shocked. Some of you weren't. But all of you need to understand this: respect is not optional in this company. It is not situational. And it is not for sale. The camera pans across the faces of the crew, some nervous, others resolute, all listening intently. Amara taps a control on the podium. The screen behind her changes, revealing a list of sweeping new policies. Mandatory retraining for all crew. Immediate termination for repeated bias-related complaints. A direct reporting line to corporate for any passenger mistreatment. Leadership reshuffles in flagged departments. Her gaze sweeps the room, her tone lowering slightly, calm, but carrying a weight that makes every word land. Amara. If you cannot meet this standard, you will not work here tomorrow. Not because I'm angry, but because our passengers deserve better. And so does this company. The room stays silent, the tension palpable. A few attendants glance at one another nervously, others nod subtly in agreement. Amara steps slightly forward, her voice softening just enough to balance her authority. Amara, this isn't just about avoiding scandal. It's about building something better than what we were. Every passenger, every flight, every time, dignity comes first. She steps back from the podium, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor as she exits the platform, leaving the screen behind her glowing with the words, "Respect is non-negotiable." The underscore builds with a steady, resolute rhythm as the camera pans across the attentive, silent crowd, the screen fading to black on Amara's silhouette walking calmly through the center aisle, the weight of her leadership cemented in every step. Not everyone likes the new rules. Some think she's going too far, too fast. But Amara Carter didn't build an empire by asking for permission. And when someone questions her now, they don't just get an answer. They get a warning. The camera opens inside Amara's corporate office, perched high above the city skyline. The space is sleek and minimalist, dark wood walls, chrome accents, and floor-to-ceiling windows glowing with the golden hue of sunset. Amara stands near her desk, her black tailored suit flawless, sleek shoulder-length waves softly framing her face, her gold watch catching the fading light as she reviews reports on a slim tablet. The quiet hum of the city below fills the silence. The door opens. One of her top executives, a tall, sharply dressed man in his late 40s, steps inside. His demeanor is confident, but the slight hesitation in his step betrays his nerves. He clears his throat as he approaches. Executive, measured. Ms. Carter, with respect, some of us think this approach is heavy-handed. Terminations, reshuffles, audits, all at once? It could rattle morale. Investors are already asking questions. Amara doesn't look up from the tablet immediately. Her fingers tap once against the glass screen before she sets it down, turning slowly to face him. Her voice, when she speaks, is low, calm, but with an edge that cuts through the room like cold steel. Amara. Heavy-handed would have been firing half the staff on the spot. What I'm doing is building a foundation strong enough to survive the next storm, without me having to personally step in again. The executive shifts slightly, straightening his tie. Executive, hesitant. But the press is already calling it a purge. Are you sure? Amara steps forward, her heels clicking softly on the dark wood floor, stopping just a few feet from him. Her gaze is steady, her voice dropping into something colder, quieter, but undeniably final. Amara. The press will call it whatever drives headlines. But the passengers? They'll call it what matters, trust. And if investors can't see the value in that, they're welcome to divest and watch us rise without them. The executive swallows, glancing toward the window, the weight of her words settling. Amara turns slightly, her silhouette framed by the golden city light streaming through the windows. Her voice softens, not warm, but resolute. Amara. This isn't just damage control. It's a reminder. Our strength isn't in avoiding conflict, it's in showing the world we lead, no matter the cost. The room falls silent. The executive nods slightly, retreating toward the door without another word. The camera lingers on Amara's calm profile as she gazes out at the city, her reflection faintly visible in the glass. The underscore swells with a slow, deliberate tone, blending with the distant hum of traffic below as the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's resolve is unshakable, and anyone standing in her way will be left behind. Her rules were strict. Her methods? Unforgiving. But weeks later, the story changes again. Because now, passengers aren't whispering about scandal, they're raving about something else entirely. Amara Carter's airline isn't just surviving, it's setting the new gold standard. The camera opens on a sleek montage of glowing social media posts, news clips, and customer testimonials, all flowing across the screen. Flew Carter Air last night. Best flight crew I've ever seen. Felt respected from check-in to landing. Didn't expect a CEO-led culture shift to actually change anything, but it did. Carter Airlines feels different now. Every other airline should be taking notes. This is how it's done. Clips of smiling passengers disembarking, flight attendants offering genuine, attentive service, and upgraded cabin experiences fill the screen. The atmosphere is polished, but more importantly, it feels authentic. The montage fades into a live TV news segment, where a professional anchor speaks with a travel industry analyst. Anchor. Just a month ago, Carter Airlines was at the center of a viral controversy. Now, bookings are up 35%, and passenger satisfaction has hit an all-time high. How did this turnaround happen so fast? Analyst. Amara Carter didn't just address the problem, she rebuilt the culture from the ground up. Her swift action, public accountability, and new policies didn't just fix the issue, they made her airline the industry benchmark. The camera transitions to Amara Carter walking through a renovated terminal lounge, her dark tailored suit immaculate, sleek shoulder-length waves softly framing her composed expression. Passengers recognize her but keep a respectful distance, some quietly nodding in acknowledgement as she passes. Her assistant, walking beside her with a tablet, gives a brief update. Assistant. Bookings are projected to surpass last quarter by 40%. The new training protocols are getting praise from regulators and industry leaders alike. Amara doesn't break her stride. Her voice, calm but carrying quiet satisfaction, cuts through the ambient sounds of the terminal. Amara. Good. It means they're learning that respect isn't just policy, it's our brand. The camera lingers on her as she steps into a private lounge, where a group of smiling passengers glance up, murmuring appreciatively. She offers them a slight nod before continuing toward the boarding gates, her silhouette calm and steady against the bustling, yet polished, terminal. The underscore swells with a lighter, more triumphant tone, signaling that the tide has fully turned in Amara's favor as the screen fades to black, not on scandal, but on success. The scandal is over. The bookings are booming. The praise is everywhere. But peace never lasts long in Amara Carter's world. Because while the world applauds her rise, someone else is plotting her fall. And the first warning doesn't come from the press, it comes from a single phone call. The scene opens in Amara's private jet, cruising smoothly through a glowing dusk sky. The cabin is quiet, sleek, and elegant, with cream leather seats, gold trim, and soft ambient lighting casting a warm glow. Amara Carter sits by the window, her dark tailored suit as sharp as ever, sleek shoulder-length waves softly cascading along her shoulders, her gold watch glinting as she scrolls through reports on her tablet. A glass of sparkling water rests untouched on the table beside her. Her assistant, seated across from her, reviews notes quietly when Amara's phone buzzes sharply on the armrest. The screen lights up with a single name, Evelyn Shaw, a high-ranking industry insider and one of Amara's few trusted allies. Amara answers calmly, her voice as steady as ever. Amara. Evelyn. Go ahead. Evelyn's voice, though clear, carries an edge of urgency over the line. Evelyn, over phone. Amara, I just got word, your competitors aren't just scrambling to match you anymore. They're trying to undercut you. One of them's quietly funding a smear campaign. False stories, fake testimonials, even whispers to regulators. Amara's expression doesn't change. She closes her tablet slowly, her free hand resting lightly on the glass beside her. Her voice, when it comes, is cool, deliberate, almost too calm. Amara. Which one? There's a brief pause. Evelyn's voice lowers slightly, though still sharp. Evelyn, over phone. Harrison Global. They're panicking, your bookings are eating into theirs. They want to make you the villain again before the next quarter hits. The assistant across from Amara glances up, concern flickering in their eyes. Amara tilts her head slightly, gazing out the window at the streaks of fading sunlight on the horizon. Her words are quiet, deliberate, a promise, not a question. Amara. Then we'll remind them what happens when someone tries to play games at 30,000 feet. She ends the call, setting the phone face down beside her glass. The camera lingers on her reflection in the window, calm, controlled, but with a flicker of something colder in her eyes now. The underscore deepens, a slow, pulsing rhythm building under the steady hum of the engines, as the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's next storm is about to begin. They wanted to paint her as the villain again. They thought whispers, false headlines, and planted stories would shake her. But Amara Carter doesn't wait for storms to hit, she builds her own lightning. And when she fights back, it's never loud. It's surgical. The scene opens inside a dimly lit, high-tech operations suite, deep within Carter Airlines headquarters. The room is lined with screens displaying news feeds, social media trackers, and competitor reports. A small, trusted team of analysts, legal experts, and PR specialists work quietly but with intense focus. At the center of the room, Amara Carter stands beside a glowing digital table, her dark tailored suit pristine, sleek shoulder-length waves tucked neatly behind her ears, her gold watch catching the blue glow from the screens. Her assistant hands her a slim folder. Inside are printouts of fake stories, bot-driven reviews, and a leaked memo connecting Harrison Global to a covert smear campaign. Amara scans the documents briefly before speaking, her voice low and deliberate, every word precise. Amara. They wanted a war of perception. They're about to get a war of proof. She gestures to one of the analysts, a young woman monitoring the feeds. Amara. Trace every fake account, every false article. I want sources. Names. Screenshots. By midnight, I want their fingerprints all over this. The analyst nods quickly, fingers flying across her keyboard as maps and connection charts begin lighting up the screens. One of her PR specialists hesitates before speaking. PR specialist, cautious. If we leak this, it could look retaliatory. Are you sure? Amara turns her head slightly, her gaze calm but sharp, her tone dropping just enough to cut through the air like a whisper of steel. Amara. This isn't retaliation. This is correction. They wanted to fabricate a scandal? We'll hand the truth to every outlet before sunrise. The PR specialist falls silent, nodding. Amara picks up the folder again, tapping it lightly against her palm as she gazes at the glowing screens, the connections forming, the campaign unraveling before her eyes. Her words, quiet but final, carry across the room. Amara. By the time they wake up tomorrow, Harrison Global will wish they'd stayed in their lane. The camera lingers on her reflection in the digital table's blue glow, her calm silhouette framed by the flickering network charts and scrolling headlines. The underscore builds into a slow, pulsing rhythm, blending with the soft hum of the screens as the scene fades to black, signaling that Amara's counterattack has officially begun. They tried to break her reputation overnight. Instead, their own empire starts to crumble by morning. Because when Amara Carter fights back, the truth hits harder than any rumor. And this time, it's not just the press watching, it's the regulators, the investors, and the world. The scene opens at dawn, the skyline painted in soft gold as news broadcasts flicker across multiple screens. The footage plays like a breaking news montage. Evidence links Harrison Global to fabricated passenger complaints. Leaked documents expose covert smear campaign against Carter Airlines. Regulators launch investigation into Harrison Global practices. Across the screen, reporters stand outside Harrison Global's headquarters, capturing executives hustling past cameras, faces grim, no comments offered. Inside Carter Airlines' PR war room, the atmosphere is calm, in stark contrast to the chaos outside. Analysts monitor feeds, watching Harrison's stock tickers drop and social media erupt. Amara Carter stands at the center, her dark tailored suit perfect, sleek shoulder-length waves framing her face, her gold watch catching the glow of the screens as she calmly scrolls through her tablet. Her assistant steps forward, handing her a brief update. Assistant. Every major outlet has the evidence package. The regulators are moving in. Harrison Global's CEO just canceled their quarterly press call. Amara doesn't smile. Her expression remains composed, voice steady, deliberate. Amara. Good. Now we control the next headline. Draft a statement, nothing gloating. Just the facts. Let the public see who really tried to deceive them. A PR lead nods quickly, retreating to their station. Another analyst glances up, hesitant. Analyst. Ms. Carter. Harrison's already losing contracts. Investors are pulling out. Do we push harder? Amara pauses for a long moment, gazing at the plummeting ticker on the screen, her tone finally dropping into something almost cold. Amara. No. We don't need to bury them. We just need to make sure they never try this again. She turns from the screens, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor as she exits the war room. The camera lingers on the monitors behind her, Harrison Global's crisis splashed across every channel, before focusing on her calm silhouette disappearing down the hallway. The underscore swells, a low, measured crescendo, as the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's counterstrike is complete, but her story isn't finished yet. She could crush her rivals completely. But Amara Carter knows real power isn't just in winning battles. It's in turning victory into something no one can challenge. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. And her next move? It's not revenge, it's domination. The scene opens inside a high-rise conference center, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The room is sleek and modern, polished marble floors, dark oak table, chrome accents. Seated around the table are executives from 3 rival airlines, their faces a mix of unease and reluctant respect. The tension is palpable. These are the same competitors who, weeks ago, whispered about Amara's downfall. The double doors open. Amara Carter enters with measured steps, her dark tailored suit flawless, sleek shoulder-length waves perfectly framing her composed expression. Her gold watch catches the sunlight as she sets a slim leather folder on the table. She doesn't sit immediately. Her gaze sweeps the room, calm but commanding, before she finally lowers herself into the head chair. Her voice, when she begins, is low, even, and deliberate, forcing everyone to lean in slightly to hear her words. Amara. You all know what happened. You all saw what Harrison Global tried to do, and what became of them. A flicker of tension crosses the rivals' faces. One clears his throat but says nothing. Amara opens the folder, sliding out a set of sleek proposal documents. Her tone remains calm, her words carrying more weight than volume. Amara. This industry has a reputation problem, not just Harrison's. Not just mine. All of us. And while you were scrambling, I realized something. I don't need to bury my rivals to lead. I just need to make sure they can't afford to ignore me. She taps the folder lightly, her gold watch glinting with the movement. Amara. This is a joint safety, service, and culture initiative. My airline will lead it. You'll all sign on. Together, we raise the standard, not because it's charity, but because if you don't, the public will bury you next. The rivals exchange uneasy glances. One finally speaks, his voice low but reluctant. Rival executive. And if we choose not to? Amara leans back slightly, her expression calm but carrying a quiet sharpness. Amara. Then the next time the public demands change, you'll be alone when it comes. And trust me, you don't want to be alone. The room falls silent, the rivals weighing her words. The camera lingers on Amara's composed face, her reflection faintly visible in the polished surface of the table, as the underscore swells with a steady, rising note. The screen fades to black, signaling that Amara isn't just defending her empire anymore, she's expanding it. They came in thinking they could resist her. But Amara Carter doesn't just negotiate, she reshapes the room. And when the rivals finally speak, it is a defiance. It's surrender. Because she's not just part of the industry anymore. She is the industry. The scene opens back in the high-rise conference room, sunlight glinting off the polished marble floor and chrome accents as the rival airline executives shift uncomfortably in their seats. The proposal folder Amara laid on the table still sits unopened in front of them. The silence stretches, broken only by the soft hum of the city below filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Amara Carter remains perfectly still at the head of the table, her dark tailored suit immaculate, sleek shoulder-length waves resting neatly along her shoulders, her gold watch catching the light as she rests her hands lightly on the table. Finally, one of the rival executives, the oldest, a silver-haired man in a charcoal suit, exhales slowly, breaking the tension. Silver-haired executive. If we agree, what guarantees do we get that this isn't just a power grab? Amara tilts her head slightly, her expression calm but sharp, her voice low and deliberate. Amara. You get stability. The public stops questioning your cruise. Your investors stop panicking. And every airline at this table shares in the credibility I've already rebuilt. She leans forward slightly, her gaze steady and unflinching. Amara. Or, you keep pretending you can weather the next storm alone. And you won't. Not after what Harrison Global just proved. The executives exchange tense glances. A younger rival CEO, jaw tight, finally slides the folder toward himself, flipping it open. He schemes the pages, his brow furrowing before he mutters. Younger CEO, grudgingly. Fine. We'll sign. But everyone knows you're steering this ship. Amara's lips curve into the faintest trace of a smile, not triumph, but acknowledgement. Her tone stays even, controlled. Amara. Good. Then we all start tomorrow. The press will hear this as an industry decision, not mine alone. But everyone in this room will know who set the standard. The camera pans around the table, lingering on the uneasy but compliant expressions of the rivals, before returning to Amara, who remains poised and unshaken, her reflection faint in the polished table as she calmly closes her own folder. The underscore swells, a slow and confident build, as the screen fades to black, cementing her as not just a survivor of scandal, but the figurehead of the entire industry. She turned a scandal into a standard. She forced her rivals into line. Now Amara Carter steps forward, not as the target of the story, but as its author. And with one announcement, she doesn't just lead an airline. She leads the entire industry. The scene opens in a grand press hall, far larger than the one from her earlier statement. The backdrop is sleek and modern, glass and steel accents, with the logos of multiple major airlines displayed behind the podium. Reporters pack the room, cameras flashing, murmurs echoing as they await the statement. A row of executives from competing airlines stand just behind the podium, tense but silent. The double doors at the back of the hall open. Amara Carter strides in with calm authority, her dark tailored suit flawless, sleek shoulder-length waves softly framing her face, her gold watch glinting faintly as she approaches the podium. The room falls silent as she takes her place. Her voice, when she begins, is steady, low, and carries across the hall without needing to rise. Amara. Weeks ago, this industry faced a reckoning. An incident that exposed not just one airline's failure, but the cracks in all of us. She pauses, her gaze sweeping across the sea of cameras and the faces of the rival executives behind her. Amara. Today, that ends. Every airline you see represented here, including mine, has signed a unified commitment to raise the standard for passengers worldwide. Not as a slogan. Not as PR. As policy. The reporters lean forward, flashes popping as she steps slightly closer to the microphone, her tone sharpening just enough to resonate. Amara. There will be no tolerance for bias. No tolerance for abuse of authority. And no tolerance for the old excuses this industry has relied on for too long. Our customers deserve better. And now, they'll get it, from all of us. The room stirs, murmurs from the press, the flashes increasing. A reporter calls out from the front row. Reporter. Ms. Carter, are you now the de facto leader of this new coalition? Amara lets the faintest trace of a knowing smile cross her lips before answering, her voice calm, controlled, but unshakably firm. Amara. Leadership isn't claimed. It's earned. If people want to call me that, it's only because I've done what others wouldn't. The camera slowly pans back, capturing the entire hall, Amara poised at the podium, the rival executives flanking her like shadows, and the room full of flashing cameras capturing every second. The underscore swells with a rising, triumphant note as the screen fades to black, signaling that Amara has cemented herself as more than a CEO. She's the standard bearer for the entire industry. Harrison Global is cornered. Their reputation shattered. Their investors fleeing. But desperate companies don't go quietly. They make one last reckless move and force Amara Carter to end this war for good. The scene opens in Harrison Global's glass-walled executive suite, where chaos reigns. Executives argue over plummeting stock charts displayed on towering screens, their voices tense and sharp. At the head of the table, Harrison Global's CEO, a sharp, silver-tongued man in his early 50s with a dark navy suit and graying hair slicked back, slams his hand on the polished oak table. Harrison CEO. If Carter thinks she can bury us, she's mistaken. We're not dead yet. He slides a folder across the table to his COO. Inside are plans for a media blitz, contracts with a shadowy PR firm, and documents designed to dig into Carter's personal life. COO, nervous. This could backfire. We're already under investigation. Another hit to credibility could. Harrison CEO, cutting in. If we go down, we're taking her image with us. Push it through. The camera cuts to Amara Carter's private office later that evening. The city lights glow beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a soft golden hue across her sleek, minimalist space. Her assistant enters briskly, holding a slim tablet with visible tension in their posture. Assistant. Ms. Carter, Harrison Global's moving again. They've contracted a PR firm. They're preparing to leak fabricated stories about your board, your leadership, even you personally. Amara remains calm, her dark tailored suit immaculate, her sleek shoulder-length waves perfectly in place as she leans back slightly in her chair, fingertips resting lightly on her gold watch. Her voice, when it comes, is low and deliberate, each word carrying weight. Amara. So they're still trying to play. Then it's time we stop letting them set the pieces. She turns her chair slightly toward the glowing skyline, her reflection faint in the window. Her tone drops just a fraction lower, enough to chill the room. Amara. Schedule a call with regulators and our media contacts. If Harrison wants to finish this dirty, we'll make sure it ends clean, but final. The camera lingers on her calm, poised silhouette, framed by the glowing city beyond, as the underscore deepens into a low, pulsing tone. The screen fades to black, signaling that Amara's final move is about to come, and Harrison Global won't survive it. Harrison Global wanted a war of words. But Amara Carter doesn't trade insults. She delivers verdicts. And by the time the sun rises, their empire won't just be wounded. It will be finished. The scene opens in a bustling newsroom where anchors prepare breaking news reports. Screens flash with headlines, legal notices, and regulatory updates. The chatter is fast, focused, and tense. On one screen, regulators launch full audit into Harrison Global, fraud allegations surface. On another, Carter Airlines provides evidence to federal oversight, sparks industry cleanup. And finally, Harrison Global CEO faces emergency hearing. The camera cuts to Amara Carter standing in a sleek, private conference room overlooking the glowing skyline through towering windows. Her dark tailored suit is immaculate, sleek shoulder-length waves framing her focused expression. Her gold watch glints faintly as she scrolls through a live feed of the chaos on her tablet. Her assistant stands at her side, giving the update. Assistant. The evidence package hit every major outlet. Regulators are moving faster than expected. Harrison Global stock is down another 12% since markets opened. Amara nods slightly, setting the tablet on the polished glass table. Her voice is calm, deliberate, every word measured. Amara. Make sure the public sees this isn't about revenge. Frame it as a reckoning, one the industry needed, not one I wanted. Her PR director, standing by the door, adds cautiously. PR director. Harrison's CEO is still pushing for one last press conference tonight. They're going to call you ruthless. They're going to say you orchestrated all of this. Amara glances up briefly, her expression steady, her tone even colder now, not loud, but final. Amara. Then make sure they say it while packing their offices. I don't need to defend myself. The truth already did. The camera cuts to a live news feed, showing regulatory officials escorting Harrison Global executives out of their building, flashes from photographers lighting up the night. The CEO is ushered past microphones, refusing to answer shouted questions. Back in Amara's office, she turns from the window, her silhouette calm and poised as she delivers the closing line to her assistant. Amara. By tomorrow, they're a headline. We're the Standard. The underscore swells into a low, triumphant chord as the screen fades to black, signaling the war's end and Amara's unshakable dominance. The rivals have fallen silent. The press has moved on. For the first time in weeks, there are no meetings, no calls, no cameras. And when the world finally stops pulling at her, Amara Carter is just a woman, sitting alone with her thoughts. But even in stillness, her mind doesn't rest. The scene opens on Amara's penthouse once again, the city skyline stretching endlessly beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. The lights of skyscrapers blink softly in the distance, casting faint glows on the sleek, minimalist interior. Amara sits at a small table near the window, her dark tailored jacket draped neatly over the back of her chair, leaving her in a soft silk blouse. Her sleek shoulder-length waves are loose now, falling naturally as she leans forward slightly, fingers wrapped around a cup of tea. The apartment is silent, save for the distant hum of the city below and the faint clinking of her spoon against the porcelain cup. On the table beside her lies a stack of papers, finalized agreements from the rival airlines, regulatory approvals, and a list of crew promotions for her own staff. The top page is marked, Initiative, Respect Standard, Final Rollout. She flips the page over slowly, setting it aside. Her gaze drifts to the skyline, her reflection faintly visible in the window. For a long moment, she doesn't move, her usually unwavering posture softening as her shoulders lower just slightly. In the quiet, her thoughts surface, murmured softly into the empty room. Amara, quietly. I didn't build this to fight, but maybe fighting is the only way to keep it standing. She exhales slowly, taking a sip of tea before closing her eyes for a moment. The stillness lingers, the camera holding on her calm, pensive silhouette framed by the glowing city. Her phone vibrates gently on the table. She glances at the screen, Grace Morgan, promotion confirmation. A faint, genuine smile touches her lips for the first time in hours as she swipes the notification away. She whispers to herself, voice quiet but resolute. Amara. At least some things were worth the storm. The underscore swells softly, a gentle piano melody replacing the harsher tones from earlier as the screen fades to black, signaling a rare glimpse into Amara's humanity before the final resolution. The storms have passed. The rivals have fallen in line. But for Amara Carter, victories aren't marked by headlines or applause. They're marked by moments like this, when someone who stood by her finally gets to rise. The scene opens in a sleek corporate lounge, polished marble floors and warm lighting softening the usual corporate edge. A small gathering of Carter Airlines employees fills the space, murmuring quietly with anticipation. At the center stands Grace Morgan, the junior flight attendant who had once stood silently near the galley, watching Lauren's tirade unfold, too afraid to speak but brave enough to quietly call for help. Today, she's in a newly tailored supervisor's uniform, navy with subtle gold accents, her posture nervous but proud. Amara Carter enters the lounge with her usual composed stride, her dark tailored suit impeccable, sleek shoulder-length waves softly framing her calm expression, her gold watch glinting under the warm overhead lights. The employees straighten instinctively, the murmurs quieting. She approaches Grace, offering a rare, genuine nod of acknowledgement. Her voice, though calm as ever, carries a touch of warmth unusual for her public tone. Amara. Grace Morgan. When others stayed silent, you acted. Quietly, but decisively. That day, you reminded me why some people are worth investing in. Grace swallows hard, her hands clasped behind her back as she listens. Amara lifts a small, leather-bound document from her assistant's hands and places it gently in Grace's. Amara. Effective immediately, you're promoted to senior crew supervisor. This isn't just a title. It's trust, and I expect you to set the standard I built, every single day. Grace's eyes widen slightly, emotion flickering across her face as she nods quickly. Grace, softly. Thank you, Ms. Carter. I won't let you down. Amara's expression remains composed, but the faintest glimmer of satisfaction crosses her features. She leans in slightly, her tone lowering to something only Grace can hear. Amara, quietly. Make sure no one ever has to make the call you did that day again. If they do, I'll know you failed. Grace nods once, firm and resolute now. The camera pulls back, capturing the small crowd as they applaud softly. Amara steps aside, watching Grace shake hands with her new peers, her own silhouette calm and poised against the warm light of the lounge. The underscore swells with a soft, hopeful melody, signaling that while Amara is relentless, she rewards loyalty and courage as fiercely as she punishes failure. The screen fades to black, setting the stage for the final resolution. The storms are over. The rivals silenced. The standards rebuilt. But Amara Carter doesn't stay in one place for long. Because for her, every ending is just the beginning of another flight. The final scene opens aboard Amara's private jet, bathed in soft morning light as it taxis down a quiet runway. The cabin is serene, cream leather seats, gold accents, and soft ambient lighting casting a calm glow. Amara Carter sits by the window in a simple yet elegant navy dress, her sleek shoulder-length waves framing her calm expression. Her gold watch rests loosely on her wrist, catching the sunlight streaming through the oval window. A fresh cup of tea sits on the polished table beside her leather planner, which remains closed for now. Across the aisle, her assistant quietly reviews a tablet but doesn't disturb the silence. The camera lingers on Amara's reflection in the window, her eyes tracing the distant horizon as the jet accelerates. The world outside blurs into streaks of blue and gold. For a long moment, there's no dialogue, only the soft hum of the engines and the faint clink of her spoon against the cup as she stirs. Finally, she murmurs softly, more to herself than anyone else. Amara, quietly. Peace never lasts. But if you build strong enough, it doesn't have to. The assistant glances up briefly but doesn't interrupt. Amara takes a slow sip of tea, her gaze still fixed on the horizon as the plane lifts off, climbing into the clouds. The camera pulls back, capturing her poised silhouette against the brightening sky. The underscore swells into a steady, resonant crescendo, calm, powerful, final. As the jet disappears into the clouds, white text fades in on the screen. Respect is not optional. It's the foundation. And for Amara Carter, it's only the beginning. The screen fades to black, the music holding on one last sustained note before cutting to silence.